taking the IELTS test, worried about your writing score. Maybe you keep getting the same one, like a 5.5 or a 6.5, but you need a 7. My name is Jeff with Fluent American, and today we're going to break down and analyze another Task 2 prompt. As always, we'll break down this essay using the same categories of the IELTS rubric: task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammar. Before we get into the analysis though, just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel to get updates when the latest videos come out. And also, if you're trying to get some pronunciation practice, which is an important part of your speaking grade too, it's a fourth of it, check out our pronunciation videos as well. We have sounds just for you. All right, let's take a look at our essay. Hello everyone, we're taking a look at another task 2, this one related to education and employment, and basically talking about hard work. Specifically, we're trying to figure out why some people work harder and is it always a good thing. Okay, so two-part question. We're going to be looking at this task using the same rubric categories as always. So task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. We'll start again with task achievement. We need to decide, are we fully addressing the prompt? Do we have a relevant position that's developed, extended, and with enough supporting ideas? So let's begin by looking at the introduction. So C is commonplace, people are unequal. Okay, so again, let's assume that we're kind of working under a time pressure. Maybe you don't have the time to create a hook with the intention of really kind of gripping the reader and introducing the subject in a way that's a little bit more engaging, which is fine. I understand, you've only 40 minutes to do this, so I think in that case a hook like this can work. I'm interested in the thesis statement because this is where your argument is going to be explained. So individuals tend to work hard because they have high expectations of themselves. Okay, so we have the reason, which is only favorable when coupled when working smart, which is only favorable. So this is describing the time. All right, so the two parts of this thesis. So I would expect the first part to talk about the expectations. I'd expect the second part to talk about the working smart aspect. Great. So those are the two main takeaways I take from the thesis statement. Let's make sure they're connected to the prompt. Why do some people work harder? It doesn't say how many reasons we have to give, so one is okay. They're working hard because they have expectations. Okay, is it always a good thing? Only when coupled with working smart. Okay, so we have is it a good thing or a negative thing? And they're saying it's a good thing and only in this situation. And then again, why are people working harder for that motivation? Okay, so it seems like we have parts of our thesis statement that are directly connected to our prompt. So now we can kind of talk more about our body paragraphs. Let's see what's going on in the first body. Again, we're mentioning the high expectations of themselves. We have our topic sentence. Great. Let's see. Again, then you found that with a detail. Okay. So it's different for every student. Sounds okay to me. One student. And then to kind of just give details to elaborate on the different situations. Okay. I'm okay with that. So you have a relatively basic body paragraph structure here. We have a topic sentence, a quick main idea. Basically everyone has their own personal expectations. And then they give the example in an academic setting, how one student may be interested in just passing, another student wants the different accolades. I think this can work for body paragraph, especially if you're pressed for time. Okay, if you're worried about the 40 minutes, a quick body paragraph with a topic sentence, main idea, and detail, that's the bare minimum. Okay, that's the least that you want to have. I would suggest even maybe adding or consider adding another detail, but again, depending on time, it may not be necessary. I think this is at least the minimum that you can do and still potentially get a high score. Okay, because you're still following the general structure with a topic sentence, main idea, and detail. Our next body paragraph, again, what we expected from our thesis. working intelligently towards something, working smart. Okay, so your topic sentence there. In other words, it's not good to spend energy in an area that's not working. Great. And then all of this is pretty much a detail that is then used to describe the situation here. So similar to the body paragraph above, we really only kind of have one topic, one main idea that's elaborated on. To a degree, the next detail kind of begins a separate main idea to a degree. Okay, in the sense of it's describing a main idea before it. So in that sense, it's a detail, but then everything else after it is instead describing this detail. So in some ways, it's kind of doing double duty. It's functioning as both a detail and as its own main idea of sorts. And that's okay. You can have paragraphs that do that. It's a natural progression. Everything's kind of connected to everything else. You know, that's the thing that we're looking for in the writing. So I think this can work. So I'd say both these paragraphs slightly unusual in that they really only have, I would say, one main idea after the topic sentence, but I think each of them could work. We then end with our conclusion. Okay, and the conclusion is just a quick summary. Okay. Basically, so again, the personal expectations, we see that here. And then they talk about you have to employ it intelligently. Okay. But in general, I think the paragraph structure here is working. I think it's a direct response to the prompt. I think all the questions are being answered. And I think that examples are being given to elaborate and explain the ideas. So I think this could do well for the grading for task achievement. Let's move on and take a look at coherence and cohesion. I'm going to remove my markings really quick. Right, so coherence and cohesion, the way that attracts no attention when we're linking things together. Skillfully managing paragraphing, we want to make sure we have some referencing going on. So, as in like referring to nouns in different ways. Okay. Let's just kind of identify some transition words. Okay. However, showing contrast. Because, showing a connection between ideas, trying to explain the reason why. Put differently, explain that you're going to rephrase. For example, showing you're going to give an example. In other words, again, rephrase. To illustrate means we're going to give an example. However, showing contrast. Rather than showing again kind of like instead. Consequently, showing a result. Conclude, showing a summary. Okay, so we have a good mix of transition signal words here. Okay, and you definitely want to use those. Not every sentence needs to have one. Keep that in mind. But using, I would say, a couple, a handful per body paragraph, I think is good. In terms of referencing, let's see what we have happening. So notice here how much effort they put in, the unequal effort they put into concepts. We see that being again captured in the word discrepancy later on. Next. Anything else? How about this? Such a work ethic being used to describe this desire to perform well. Okay, so you have a little bit of referencing there, especially with the such. Okay. Those are probably the main referencing things I see going on. Let's also take a look at how the paragraphs are being connected to each other. And kind of similar to that point about referencing. So we talk about this desire in the paragraph above. And then in the paragraph below, this work ethic. So the work ethic that, you know, that desire to ace different tests, pushing students to work harder. That's what that work ethic is. So I really like this connection here, mentioning that same work ethic that you describe above it, you know, linking your paragraphs just a little bit. I think it's worth adding a couple words to your sentence just to kind of link your two body paragraphs together. I think that's really good. All right, so those are some of the things that I'm seeing in coherence and cohesion. We also mentioned, of course, just the paragraph structure, you know, starting off with a topic sentence that kind of identifies what the whole paragraph is about. That topic sentence being followed by a main idea, and then that main idea being explored with a detail, because that's the logical progression of a paragraph that coherence and cohesion is looking for. From there, we can move on to vocab. All right, and for vocab, let's see what we're looking for. A wide range, sophisticated control lexical features, rare minor errors, so you might have a couple of mistakes. With the vocab, I mean, if the goal is a 9, you really want to keep that to a minimum. You know, even 2 or 3 mistakes can drop you very quickly from a 9 to an 8, if not lower, depending on the mistake. Also want to check your spelling. I haven't seen any spelling issues from reading this, so let's take a look just at some words that I think are working well. Like commonplace, I think is okay. Discrepancy. Advantageous. Favorable. Coupled with something. Exertion. Different proportion. To aspire to do something. To ace or to do well on something. Okay. Work ethic. We're using the word coupled a lot, and I just noticed it now, so feel free to kind of adjust this. You know, maybe paired with would be another option. Just that way you're not repeating coupled too often. Copious. To work tirelessly. To put in time, so you're using a phrasal verb here, great. The manager is responsible for something, great, I like it. Passed over for promotions, good phrase there. To be correlated to something. Alright, so there's just some of the vocab words I think are helping push this to a higher score. Again, I'm not seeing any vocab issues or word appropriacy issues. I think all these words are placed in places where they could work, and that's naturally going to be a key for that vocab score. Our last category will be grammar. So again, a wide range of structures, flexibility and accuracy, rare minor mistakes. Keep in mind this also is true for punctuation as well with these tasks. Okay, so always be checking your punctuation. All right, let's see what we have. Just in terms of grammar, let's see if we can identify some clauses, see what's going on with the sentences. Are we starting them in different ways and things like that? We're starting off with a clause. It's commonplace observation. People are unequal. And in fact, we followed it up with another one. How much effort they put into these things. Okay. That's perfectly fine. Okay. So again, this is a sentence with a couple different clauses. Looks like 2 adjective clauses. The only thing I would suggest, you know, I wouldn't normally suggest having a paragraph that extends beyond 3 clauses. I would say 3 is a good number at the most. There are situations where you can break that rule or that suggestion, but in general, for instance, when I'm writing, I try not to go past 3. Our next sentence is complex as well. What is worth, however? Okay. And we see multiple clauses as well. What is the reason for this discrepancy? and then putting in much effort is advantageous. So again, multiple clauses here. Cool. And then our thesis statement itself is complex as well. Tend to work hard because they have high expectations, which is only favorable when coupled. And again, we have an adjective clause with the which is, and the rest is an adjective phrase. Okay, so we have pretty complex sentences. Keep in mind, not every single sentence needs to be complex or compound. Some simple sentences can be actually pretty nice to have in the middle of a paragraph, and can also demonstrate your skill, because it's your way of saying that I know that these last sentences have been a little bit more complex. So here's a little chance for you to breathe with a simple sentence. Next, we have some more clauses. What motivates people is their high expectations of themselves. Okay, so you have a noun clause. What motivates people is their high expectation of themselves. What motivates people actually is your subject. Okay. Next sentence is complex as well. Different portion of personal experience versus how they should perform and what they should achieve. Again, multiple clauses there as well. Next, compound sentence. These up to the on the other hand. So we're joining these two clauses together, these two sentences together. Yeah, beyond that looks like a pretty standard compound sentence. Here's your first part here. And your second part. Okay. In terms of grammar mistakes, I'm not really seeing anything. Punctuation looks okay. Our next sentence can be advantageous. Compound sentence again. Only if paired. Okay, so then we have a second part here. Great. Next, you have a conditional. If that energy is not spent, it's not virtuous to spend that much money. Great. Okay, so you have a complex sentence there. We're going to say it's a conditional. I would again suggest having one or two conditionals in your whole essay. I mean, you can even do one per paragraph if you want. You want to demonstrate to the examiner that you know how a more advanced grammar structure like conditionals works. Next, we have somewhat of a simple sentence to illustrate. And maybe not really. You have a command with the to illustrate. Okay. So that section. Here's one here. Next, you have a complete clause here. Okay, but this part is really just kind of extra information. It's not really a sentence, more an adjective phrase. Okay, but it can go with us. I think the rest of the sentence is okay. Consequently showing a result. He was passed over and somebody when he retired. He was in a position, lots of clauses again. He was passed over for promotions. You have an adjective clause, that he desired. You're just not expressing that, and that's fine. And then you have an adverb clause, time when he retired. He was in the same position as what? When he starts. You have another clause here. Okay, so there's a ton of clauses in this sentence. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 clauses at least. Okay, starting to get to that territory where I would suggest maybe consider making a new sentence, but I don't think we're there yet for this specific essay. I think this is okay, but if another sentence were needed, they would probably have to move. To conclude, again, we have our summary. The sentence overall is relatively simple. The effort levels are correlated to personal expectations. Next, again, you have a gerund phrase right here. Exerting a lot of energy is a virtue. Clause with your subject again being exerting a lot of energy. And then when employed. Okay, and that's how we describe. All right, but in general, these are some of the things I noticed about the grammar. Again, we have some pretty complex sentences all around this, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with complex sentences. You can even consider, again, in the future, adding a simple sentence or two if you notice that most of your sentences are complex, just to mix up your style. I'm not seeing any grammatical mistakes, so feel free later on if you're looking through this and you notice something, be sure to let us know. But yeah, in general, I think this essay could do very well on the IELTS test. That concludes this Task 2 analysis. Be sure to check out our other videos as well, where we analyze different types of IELTS essay prompts for Task 2, including advantage, disadvantage, to what extent do you agree, discuss both sides, and other topics. My name is Jeff again. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you in our next video. Take care.